there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30+% of women are single, but it's in the neighborhood of 60% of men.
Really?
Yeah. See if you can find.
Really high.
I know.
In what age group?
Really high. It's 18 to 49 or something.
Oh,
like
wow.
That. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's young men.
It's a shockingly high.
It doesn't make sense, like why there's such a disparity between the genders. That men are so much more single than women. Like that doesn't even jive.
Yeah. How does that
like
make sense?
Most men are single. Most young women are not. 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. 34% of women and a whopping 63% of men. Like,
wow.
How does that work? How does it work if there's roughly 50% women, 50% men? How could 34% of women be single and 63% of men be single? It says, not surprisingly, the decline of relationships matches a stride with the decline in sex. The share of sexually active Americans stands at a 30-year low. Around 30% of young men reported in 2019 that they had no sex in the past year, compared to about 20% of young women. Only half of single men are actively seeking relationships or even casual dates, according to Pew. That figure is declining.
What if, like, the women thought they were in a relationship and the guys are like,
right? Yeah, that's what we could say.
Single. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that you could say that, or maybe the women aren't being honest. Maybe they've gone on a date with a guy and they decide that's their boyfriend. I don't know.
I think the more shocking thing is just that more in general are single. Less people are having sex and are engaged in meaningful, long-term relationships. I think that's, there's just an increasingly. I feel like we're becoming more atomized, like you just kind of can get lost in your world. And what are they not really replacing in the real world? Because basically that's what we've done. We've replaced a lot of physical things with online things. And sometimes that replacement works. Like I can kind of, but sometimes it doesn't. Like I can FaceTime with my mom and it's like kind of the same, but it's not really.
It's a little annoying.
It's a little annoying, right? And they're getting better at it, but it's like it's always kind of like this facsimile of the real thing. And so I think this replica AI is it's sort of this it's trying to treat loneliness in people. Yeah. Maybe you could that's the nice way of looking at it. But it's pretty dystopian, man.
It is dystopian, and one of the things that I think accelerated it was the lockdowns, right? So for especially people that had a lot of anxiety. There was people that went a year plus without being in contact with other people other than their immediate family members. And so then they seek more time online. They're online more. And at the same time, this AI-generated 3D image of a person is communicating with you.
So apparently a lot of modern day people are checking out of school and they are no longer making new relationships and they are just quitting on life. I've noticed this as a trend. There's a pill trend, there's a going your own way trend, and there's just a depression with life. And I don't think this is a solution. So today we're going to break down an interview that happened on CNN where they talk about this. It's now public knowledge. Everybody knows about it. It's in the modern mainstream media that this is the reality of life. It's no longer a small section of people. It's a large amount of people are feeling the great divide. There is no more social and financial middle class anymore in terms of relationships or economics. And I want to talk about that today. Some solutions that you can focus on, because focusing on the problem is never going to help anybody. Focusing on the solutions is the answer. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're right. What matters is that you get results. And by the way, if you are new to the channel, my name is Madison. I am a social dynamics coach. I have been a student of this for 15 years. I've done 5 international world tours. I've taught people from all kinds of backgrounds and age groups across the world, 20,000 people face to face, and I'm going to share some of my insights with you today. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe, and if you want to work with me and my team, click the link down below for conversation mentoring. We're upgrading the program very, very soon, so this is the time to get in and do a free call with us, because it will not be free in the future for I don't know how much longer, maybe a few weeks, and that's it, and then it's gone. All right, so do it while you can. We'll sort you out, get your mind right, and talk about some strategies that you can handle the modern day environment.
Last week, I delved here into recent data from the CDC suggesting major problems with regard to the mental health of our adolescents, surges in depression and suicidal ideation, especially true for our girls. This week, I found cause to worry about young men. This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single, most young women are not. The story reported that as of 2022, Pew Research Center found 30% of U.S. adults are neither married, living with a partner, nor engaged in a committed relationship. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63% of men. What explains that? I pulled the Pew study and I read with interest. Turns out since 2019, the share of single men who say they're looking for dates or a relationship has declined from 61% to 50%. In 2018, 28% of men ages 18 to 30 reported they'd had no sex in the past year, compared with 18% of women of that age. The Hill report said men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant, friendless, and lonely. They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and relationships that afflicts all of young America. Among the
this is really interesting here. This is interesting because, we're all working from home these days since the situation that happened last 2 or 3 years. A lot of people work from home. People do their degrees by correspondence. People aren't going to the gym as much as they used to before. People are meeting through online dating apps, and et cetera, et cetera. So your usual social circles that you would have had, like in the neighborhood, the community, whether it be the barbershop or the basketball court or something like that, you don't really have those as much anymore. So that's why it's even now more important than ever to take a proactive stance and actively get out there intentionally on the weekend to your favorite club or your favorite bar or your game night at a karaoke place or whatever, and do that frequently so that you have a group of people that recognize you by face and that you're out there meeting people. Because if you don't do it intentionally, it's just never going to happen. Bottom line, it's just never going to magically fix itself. It's got to be an active force that you do intentionally in your life.
The causes, among the factors, a reliance on social media and online porn. But also, more young women are hooking up with each other.
Something to be said here is that you got to now actively get out and meet people with an intention and with purpose. You can't just sit at home and expect things to work themselves out anymore. It doesn't happen. You're probably somebody who works remotely, at home. You probably maybe did your degree at home if you were in school. You finished it up in the last few years. I don't know if you go to the office anymore. I mean, a lot of people don't go to the gym as much as they built home gyms in the last few years. So listen, it's not going to magically fix itself. People don't go to the back in the day, you would go to the basketball court. That'd be something that people would hang out at, or the barber shop and be community of older individuals and men that talk to each other. Or, if you're a lady, I don't know what you would do, but you would do stuff it's a class you would take perhaps, but these things aren't going to fix themselves now, right? So that now more than ever, you must be purposeful with your intention and plan to get out there. Find a place every weekend that you go to that you love, whether it's a karaoke or a game night or a bar, and just get to know the people there, the regulars that are there. Make your face known, develop a social group, because otherwise it ain't going to take care of itself. Let's be sure about that.
Or dating and marrying slightly older men, and heterosexual women are getting more choosy. Other troubling statistics about men come from a 2021 study from the Survey Center for American Life. They found the share of men who have 6 or more close friends, which in 1990 was 55%, by 2021 had shrunk by half. Meanwhile, those with literally 0 close friends, which stood at 3% in 1990, has zoomed to 15%. An expert quoted by The Hill said this disconnect can have catastrophic consequences for young men.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Now, more than ever, the skills of being social are important, and they're rare, and they're appreciated. Think about it like this, right? Everybody now can do some sort of Photoshop or online video editing or writing. There's Chat GPT that's out. But how many people could actually bring new clients in? How many people can do a good face-to-face presentation? How many people do you think now are able to go out and meet strangers at a kiosk for a business or in the mall, or negotiate or do door-to-door sales effectively? Not a lot of people, right? Those skills are now what's required to move up in the corporate ladder and to move up in life. When a business hires you, it doesn't just mean that you have a job anymore. It means what can you add on top of that additional job above and beyond everybody else. And social skills are the thing. And also when it comes to your personal life, the ability to meet somebody in a grocery store or a cafe, that's crazy rare these days. And if you can do it, you're going to stand out. You're going to cut through all the online noise. Everybody has great Instagram profiles with Lamborghinis and all that stuff. If you can do this face to face and make an impact in that moment, The person that's receiving it might be startled or kind of like shocked or surprised or not know how to process it, but they're going to really appreciate it because it hasn't been done before. So you're going to win less often, but the conversions of your interactions face to face are going to be higher quality and higher fidelity, and they're going to last longer. So the juice is definitely going to be worth the squeeze.
Quote, in the worst case scenario, the young American man's social disconnect can have tragic consequences. Young men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of young women. Younger women are largely responsible for rising rates of mass shootings, a trend that some researchers link to their growing social isolation. Well, those words reminded me of a conversation that I had over a year ago right here on CNN with NYU professor Scott Galloway.
But the issue is, when you have a group of men, the lower half of attractiveness of men in online dating, which has doubled, now it's about half of relationships, and the top 20% of men in terms of attractiveness get about 60% of the interest, you end up with a group of men that are more prone to conspiracy theory, more prone to misogynistic content, more prone to not believe in climate change. So this is the American story. If it's written with a pen whose ink is failing young men, does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
As always, Professor Galloway was prescient. Back with me now is Scott Galloway. He's a professor of marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the host of the Professor G podcast and author of multiple best-selling books, most recently, Adrift, America in 100 Charts. Scott, thanks for returning. Hasn't the advantage always been to those with the looks and or the money? What's changed?
First off, Michael, I just want to say thank you for raising this issue a year ago when a lot of media companies were afraid to talk about this for fear of it being pro-men was somehow being anti-women. Look, this is returning to the natural order of things. For the majority of history, a small percentage of men have had the majority of the mating opportunities. But in America, we decided to make a huge investment in what would probably be the greatest innovation in history, and that is in the middle class. From 1945 to 1947, 7 million men returned from war were discharged from the service, and we decided to give them the GI Bill, subsidized mortgages. We saw education rates go from 5 to 45%. They were valued, and we had such a strong manufacturing base that you had massive marriage and household formation. And some men were seen as more economically and emotionally viable.
So for the longest time, I've been saying to you, how long have I been saying to you, you got to come and fix your social skills? I would always say, now's your chance to take a program. Who knows how long we'll be doing this for? I always said that. You thought it was a joke? You thought it was marketing? No, I could predict the writing on the wall of society. For the longest time, if you're in the middle class, you're a regular average person, society propped you up. They said, here's some options for you. Here's a chance. Everybody can make it. Yay. But that's not how it's been in the world for the longest time. All throughout history, it was the alphas, the dominators, the executors that had the results, the top 10%. All right. So if you're in the bottom 50%, this is what I'm going to tell you. Go to the gym. Go to the gym. Work on your finances. Work on your career. Get a haircut. Groom yourself. Just do that. I can't help you until you get that foundation done. Now, if you're in the top 30% of people, if you're not all the way there, you're not some like baller, but you're working on yourself. Maybe you're a young professional, you have a career. Maybe you've moved out, you've gotten a house, you're like halfway done on the mortgage. Maybe you've been going to the gym twice a week, not regularly, but every once in a while. That's who I want to speak to. That's who I want to work with, because I can get you to that upper echelon. That's what I specialize in. People that want to bring it all together. By the way, I've done that internationally in every single culture in the world. So to speak to me and my team about that and get that conversation going, click the link in the description. You can jump on a call with me and my team. It's not going to be free forever. We're ending it because I'm starting new programs soon, all right? I'm starting brand new programs. So I'm going to be discontinuing the free call. So don't think it's going to last forever, because it's not. So jump on it while you can. Quick questionnaire. A few questions there. It takes 30 seconds to do, and we'll contact you. We'll see how we can help you in putting this all together and wrapping a bow on your life to get the results that you deserve. I'm talking about being able to have great relationships, whatever that may be, short-term, long-term, bring it all together with your life and your social life and your friends, and making that one cohesive ecosystem of happiness.
And you've seen the reverse happen with the offshoring of much of our manufacturing base, with a society that quite frankly doesn't value young men. When we talk about problems with people of color or women, we see it as a systemic societal problem. When we see problems or the stats that you just mentioned, we see it as accountability, or that men just need to level up. But married households and household formation are better citizens. They vote. They save at twice the rate. They're less likely to commit crimes. and we have fewer and fewer viable men. We have a dearth of economically and emotionally viable men. But the middle class is an accident. Unless you invest in it, it doesn't happen. Eisenhower decided to invest $500 billion in a national highway project that created tons of jobs. We have, and by the way, the tax rate back then was 91%. We raised money and we redistributed in social programs that made young people more economically viable.
And then, Scott, you toss in the influence of social media and how relationships today, they don't come from, in our era, happenstance and mingling, right? They come from swiping, and that further accelerates this issue. Am I right?
Oh, it's been the chaser to it. I mean, to have an honest conversation about this, we have to be honest, and that is that men and women have different mating criteria. One quarter of men saying economic viability is a key criteria to mate. 3/4 of women say that is important. And when you're on a two-dimensional format, where now it's 1 and 2 relationships begin online, it used to be 1 and 4 just a few years ago, it gets distilled down to a small number of criteria. Specifically for men, it's does she look attractive? And specifically for men, is he able to signal his ability to garner resources in the future? An average attractive male on Tinder gets swiped less than 1% of the time. And there's 3 men on Tinder for every 1 woman. So you've distilled it, you've taken out one of the key components of mating dynamics, and that is vibe, humor, body language, pheromones, the ability to be, quite frankly, a little bit persistent in the pursuit of a romantic relationship. We have no third places anymore, no places to meet. People aren't going to bars, they aren't sports league, they aren't going to church, they aren't even going to work. So it gets distilled down to very 1 or 2 dimensional attributes. And the reality is women are much choosier than men, and they can apply those screens, and they allocate all of their attention to a small number of men that results in just essentially at the end of the day, a lack of opportunities. Chris Williams summarized it perfectly. He called it the high heels effect. In the last 40 years, more women have graduated from college than men, and they're not interested in mating with non-college grads. They now own more homes, single women, than single men. So what you have is women say they won't date anyone shorter than them, 50% of them. Effectively, what you have metaphorically over the last 40 years is women have been getting taller and taller, and men have been getting shorter and shorter. How many of us have said, I know a ton of great single women, they can't find a date? That's not true. They can't find a date, they can't find a man they find economically or emotionally viable. If we don't make a massive investment in young people and make more economically and emotionally viable men, we're going to see a lack of household formation, we're going to see a decline in the middle class, and we're going to see, quite frankly, just a lot of young men who are terrible citizens.
Really interesting here. They talk about financially. There's an idea that I want to introduce you to called the $40,000 millionaire. I actually got this from my buddy named Luke. He said it was a bad thing, but actually think about it as a good thing. You might have heard of I think his name is Justin Lee Roth from Pretentious Pockets. He wrote something called Jew Setting, which is how to travel for cheap using airline tickets to sit in lounges and get free things and upgrades and all that. I think you have to live a life like that now, where you can take $40,000 and make it stretch out to be like it's $1 million, right? So what is that? That is getting a nice place with some buddies of yours downtown and splitting the rent, right? And also maybe having events or parties there that help to fund the place, or you work from home, that helps to do it as well. It's also having friends that are international, and maybe you go and you sleep on a buddy's couch or air mattress, but it allows you to travel to great places internationally, countries like Rome, Italy, maybe Asia, Australia, South America. You get to do that. And it allows you to have like great pictures. You go out to amazing tourist locations, try the best restaurants. I recommend everybody do it. You don't got to go to the best restaurants and get the most expensive meal. Go there for just dessert. That's fine. Go there for dessert and a coffee. There's nothing wrong with going to a great top-end restaurant and getting the basics there just to experience what it's like to rub shoulders with people. And if you're going to work at the nicest co-working cafe on your laptop. Like, go out there and have a great life. And if you're going to get clothes, I'd rather you have a few clothes that are designer or tailored by a local laundry place or a local fitting place that fits you well than a lot of different clothes, you know? I'd rather you have 3 good suits, a black, a beige, and a gray, or a blue, right? A blue shirt and a white shirt. Like, just get the essentials that are really high quality and live your life according as such. It's also going to create for you the best public presentation online. You don't need to have 20 30, 40, 50 great pictures. You just need to have 10. The first thing that everybody should do right now, as you're listening to this, is go to your Instagram and delete the worst pictures. Just archive them. You don't have to delete them, actually. Just archive them so they're private to you. You can always have them on your database and restore them if you want later on. The ones that are the worst, you are as good as your worst picture on Instagram. I will tell you that right now. So go to your Instagram, and if you have 50 pictures, delete them to 25. Archive some of them. Make great highlights on your Instagram. Your Instagram is essentially your web page for your life. It's your calling card of your life. That's what everybody can do right now. And combining this will give you that lifestyle of $40,000 millionaire. I'll delete the last part. And then what you do is you find out who the best guys are in your area, the guys who are well established, the guys you see out at the local venues every week, and try to make friends with them. Either buy them a drink or just call them up, hit them up and ask them what you can do to help them. Just offer value to highly established people in life, highly valuable guys. Just offer, what can I do for you? Just call them once every 2 weeks. Hey, what's going on? What are your projects? What are you working on? Introduce them to somebody else that's great, that could help them out. And just by doing that, you'll be in the right circles and you'll be a part of their network, and they'll speak highly of you because you have done something that no one else focuses on, which is you figured out how to give established dudes quality and value in their life. Nobody thinks about that. People at the top are used to everybody coming to them and trying to take value from them. No one comes up to them and tries to give them value. So when you go to try to give them value, you stand out compared to everybody else.
So is the answer to fix this economically, and who will champion this conversation? You felt obliged to compliment me at the outset because we had engaged on this a year ago, and here I am revisiting it. And I read into that the fact that you think that it's politically incorrect even to have this dialogue.
When you're seen as advocating for men because of the 300,000 year head start we've had, it seems somehow as anti-female. There's a lot of very unfortunate misogyny online that is masquerading as being pro-men. A lot of TikTok celebrities who talk about advocating for men, it's just thinly veiled misogyny. What do we need? We need more freshman seats in colleges. We need a massive investment in vocational training. We need to figure out a way to get more permitting for housing so young people can afford housing. We need to recognize our economic policies literally allocate wealth from young people to old people. The percentage of wealth that young people control under the age of 40 has been cut from 12% to 6%. These are concerted, deliberate decisions. We did away with the child tax credit. We don't want to make it any easier for people to have kids, but seniors just got their largest cost of living adjustment increase in history. We have made the decision to make it harder and more expensive for people to find each other, for people to mate, and for people to have children. And without children, we turn into Japan and Italy, and that is we go into population decline and our economy goes into decline. We are about to become a society by the turn of the century. There will be 8 times as many people over the age of 60 and half as many kids under the age of 5. Nursery schools will become these strange situations with old people staring through fences at these creatures they don't see in the wild called children. Is this the world we want? Do we want a lack of kids? Do we want a lack of ability to create households? The happiest, most prosperous, most purposeful people in America are middle-class families. And we have made a concerted decision to punch it in the gut and make it harder for that type of family formation. And we're going to lose prosperity and we're going to lose purpose.
Yeah, so there you have it, man. It's like the movie Black Panther. They would say, the world is changing, and there will only be the conquerors and the conquered. And you got to decide what side of the fence you want to be on. Straight up, man. And if you don't decide, the world will decide for you. Are you just going to socially just fit in, go back to mediocrity and the life that you hate, or are you going to step up? And once you step up, it's a permanent lifestyle choice. It's great to have social skills. It's great to have all that. Definitely work on them, but you got to make a complete lifestyle adjustment of which side you're going to be, because there is no future for the people that are on the lower half. There's no future. Ask me if I'm lying. You've seen it yourself when you look around you. So are you going to be somebody that has a PhD in making excuses, or are you going to own it? Don't be afraid. There's people that can help you. There's resources out there for you if you're willing to trust. And have I ever let you down before? Again, this is not just a pitch for my program. This is a pitch for your life to do something about it and help yourself. Because whether you take my program or not, the world will decide for you. Link down below for conversation mentoring. We're changing the program very soon. The free calls will be discontinued as we do the anniversary and the upgrade to the new program. All right. So while you can, click the link. Brief call with me and my team, a few questions, no pressure. We're here to help you. If it's not the right fit for you, we'll give you some information and wish you the best and send you on your way. The last tip I want to give you is stop consuming negative content. Have you ever brainwashed yourself in a negative way by watching content that just says, here's the problem, the world is bad. And if you're watching this video, that might be initially why you clicked on it, because the algorithm recommended it to you because you watch stuff that's like negative. But that doesn't help you change your situation. It doesn't help you change your life. Have you ever used your reticular activation system to focus on something, whether it be getting a project done, work done, accomplishing a goal, painting something artistically? You ever done that with your brain? Well, you have to do that again right now to change your perspective on modern day people, to change your perspective on the sexes, to change how you look at yourself. You must use the full capability and power of your mind to brainwash yourself positively in order to get this result. It is possible. It is tangible, but you got to make that decision. All right. I want to leave you with that positive mental feedback. Feed the beast. Yeah, as Grant Cardone would say, and kill the doubt. With that said, as always, keep in touch and Wakanda forever. Don't be a stranger. Cheers.